this thing that's going viral saying that like Gen Z women who voted for Harris like ranked having children as the second least important thing in their personal definition of success. You know, I bet you've heard of it. That's actually not what the survey data shows. It's a really good example of the fact that people don't actually think through what they are going to be able to report out based on the question that they're asking. How do I know that? NBC did a great job. They're showing the actual question that they surveyed people with, and it is, which of the following is important to your personal definition of success? Then, importantly, if you go like right up here, right above my head, it tells you how the answer choices worked. So how could people answer this question? They were able to pick 3 choices out of 13 options. You know what I don't see in that description? I don't see that these people were asked to rank these things. I don't see that they were asked to give their top 3 or their bottom 5 or anything that has to do with ranking. I'm seeing that they were given a list of 13 things and they were told you can click 3 that are important to your personal definition of success. There's an important nuance here, okay? Because what that means is these rankings don't mean this was the number one thing, or most people said this was the number one thing. It doesn't say that Gen Z women who voted for Harris ranked having children as the second least important thing, or that Gen Z men who voted for Trump rated having children as the most important thing. That is absolutely not what the data says, according to the question that they shared that people were asked. How do they create these rankings, right? Because you hear ranking and you probably think like, oh, people are saying this is the most important thing. That's not what it is. This number one ranking slot means that whatever the thing is here is what most people clicked that as one of the 3 things that were important to their personal definition of success. And like the bottom ranking means that the least number of people clicked that as one of the 3 things that is important to their personal definition of success. If they wanted to be able to report out what people say is the most important thing or the least important thing, then they would have had to have either asked people to rank them and do a direct comparison, which they didn't, according to what they're sharing, or they could have done something like, is it not important, somewhat important, very important, calculated a value for that and used those values to assign rankings of what was the most important and least important. The way this survey question is structured, which is why it is so important to think about the data you want to be able to share out when you're designing your question, the way this is structured, it is just telling you, hey, how many people put this thing as one of the 3 things they think is important for their personal definition of success. Wild to me that you can go so far as to show the actual question, describe how people were able to answer the question, and then fumble the analysis by making it sound like people were actually like ranking these choices and saying this is most important, this is least important. They only got to pick 3 things. You could only pick 3 things. Okay, you could maybe say it didn't make it into people's top 3. Great. Or you could give the nuance and be like, having children was most frequently not in people's top 3. Okay, fine. That's not ranked second to least important. There's a nuance here, and I think it's important.